Everybody, thank you for joining the ACA Small Business Bootcamp and Resource Collective for this Tuesday, August 11th. We are grateful to have you here, and we're excited about this session we have today. I want to first start by thanking our community partners. These community partners are instrumental in the success of our bootcamp. We could not provide the content or their expertise without their support, so we want to thank them. And this is just a small listing of these community partners. So I'm Robert Theobald, the Small Business Ombudsman and Vice President of Small Business Services for the Arizona Commerce Authority. And we've developed this Small Business Bootcamp to help small businesses throughout the state deal with the COVID crisis and return stronger than ever. It is a statewide initiative supported by those community partners. And the bootcamp is going to run through August into the first week of September, along with the Resource Collective. With that, the bootcamp has been going on since the beginning of May, and all those webinars, starting in early May, we did the bootcamp, and they were daily webinars. All those sessions have been recorded, and you can find them on our website, azcommerce.com/small-business-boot-camp. All those sessions and their accompanying slide decks are available to be reviewed. If you missed one, you can review it. If you watch it, you feel free to go back and review it as well. Today's session as well will be recorded and posted on there. And yesterday's PPP session content has also been posted. Additionally, on their website, you can find our Resource Collective, and this is the tools and resources brought to you by those community partners. It is a great listing of the many items available to small businesses, including links to many of the community's grant programs that are available for the various communities throughout the state. Part of that Resource Collective are these guides. This is just a quick list of the many guides that are available on there from our community partners to help your industry get back to work. So this week's topics, yesterday we had a Maximizing Your Paycheck Protection Program Loan Forgiveness. Great session with Amber Cordoba from Prestamo CDFI. Today we've got a great session on the basics of starting a business. This session is a part one of a three-part series that SCORE does for people throughout the state, and it's going to be a great session. Today's is the basics, and then we get into business model canvas, and then some finance, and those three parts, those three sessions. The second part will be in about a week and a half, and the third part will be about a week after that one. Keep an eye on the website for those follow-up sessions, but we got a great start today. And then Friday, we have a marketing session, Upping Your Marketing Game, brought to you by the great folks at the Small Business Development Center from Yavapai College. Some quick updates on PPP. As most of you know, the PPP loan application ended on August 8th. So right now, unless the government, the federal government, creates a second round or another version of it, the new applications cannot be processed. And most companies will start working on their forgiveness going forward. And as you can see from the numbers of the PPP loans, we had a lot of businesses in Arizona receive loans, and we'll be working on forgiveness. That program helped bring over $8.6 billion into the Arizona economy. Additionally, the EIDL, the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program, is still active, and that is also a great program. It is a loan program, and it's helped over 50,000 Arizona small businesses for over $2.7 billion. From that program. Just a quick reminder of the ArizonaTogether.org website, which is Arizona's COVID-19 information and resource location. And then a reminder about our azcommerce.com/COVID-19 website for all the Arizona business resources for businesses large and small for information regarding COVID-19. So we want to mention some programs that the ACA has that can help support small businesses. We have our small business services, and we can help navigate the SBA, SBDC, local banking, and we have a great program I'm going to mention here in a second, show you some slides on it. Our workforce division can help you whether you're looking for employees or needing to train your employees. They've got some great programs. And then our Arizona MEP, Manufacturing Extension Partnership, is a great program, nationally recognized program for manufacturers. So one of the great programs that we have for small businesses, the ACA, is our small business checklist. And I'm bringing it up today because it ties in great with the starting your business. The small business checklist is an interactive online resource that helps guide entrepreneurs to the business resources and commonly requested licensing information for local, state, and federal levels. It can be kind of complicated in Arizona with some of those local and state licensing procedures, and some communities don't even require licenses. So this checklist program can help you identify what licensing requirements there are for your business, along with other information and guidelines for helping start and grow your business. There's 3 parts to it, whether you're starting a business or if you're operating a business and wanting to grow. And then also if you're just looking to grow your business, there's some information in there that can help direct you to the procurement and marketing opportunities. This is just a quick sample. The website is azcommerce.com/smallbiz. That will take you to our checklist program. We also have a link for the boot camp on that website. So you'll scroll down past the boot camp link and you will see a link for the checklist program. And when you click on that, you'll have the opportunity to select a number of different options. And if you select, for example, I'm ready to start my business, you will see that you get this information here on the left, and it has a little checklist that is many pages long where you can check the different type of business you're going to have, different categories, industry, and so forth. And then it will, when you hit the see results, it will bring up a page that has these little gray bars. And when you click on the gray bar, you will get the information that pertains to that section. It's a great resource with tons of information. It's one of the top websites at the ACA's, one of the top web pages for the ACA's website. And it's an invaluable tool for anybody looking to start or grow your business. So with that in mind, we're going to talk about today's session. We've got SCORE with us again. We've got Scott Layden from SCORE. He works out of both the Phoenix market during half the year and the New York market during half the year. And then Steve Engelhardt, who could not make it today, but he's the SCORE chapter president for the Phoenix chapter and a great partner of ours as well. So Scott, I'm going to go ahead and turn the time over to you and let you get started.
Thanks, Bob. Much appreciated. And good morning, everyone. Give me a moment here to click the buttons and we'll get ourselves rolling this morning. All right. Hopefully everyone can see the charts that we've got up. So thank you again. It's really a pleasure to be here. I do miss Phoenix and I'm looking forward to getting back there at the earliest opportunity. Very quickly, a little bit about SCORE. We are made up of a variety of folks from different businesses, different disciplines, different levels of experience. We love doing our mentoring. We really enjoy the face-to-face of it, but in these times we do everything virtually, either via video, as you're seeing today, via email or via phone. SCORE's been around for about, I'll say 60 years. We started in 1964, over 300 chapters throughout the country, 3 in Arizona. As Bob mentioned, Robert mentioned, we're in the, I'm from the Phoenix area, central Arizona, if you will. And we offer a variety of workshops. So you're going to have the benefit of 3 of those, but going forward, you'll find that we offer a variety of others as well, government contracting, legal, intellectual property, and so on and so forth. So you'll see down there, there is a link to our greaterphoenix.score.org website. Please don't hesitate to reach out and see if we can't find an opportunity to work with you on an ongoing basis. Let's see. One of the things you will receive or will have received is a copy of our Simple Steps for Starting Your Business booklet. I love this. I bring it to every new entrepreneur that I meet with. It's very easy to read and it covers all of the bases of starting a business. So please take some time to review this after our session today And as you go through the other webinars in the series, you'll find it as an excellent reference source. The deck that I'm going to present to you today is designed to be a reference source, and I understand that a copy of it will be posted on the ACA website, so please do reach out and download it to your PCs as well. I think you'll find that you won't need to make a note of every single thing that I say. You will find that the PDF will have all the information you'll want going forward. Please don't hesitate to ask questions. I'll pause during each of the, between each of the slides to allow you to think about what I've said. And Robert and Lisa will be monitoring the chat boxes. So please don't hesitate to ask a question. It's not unusual if you have a question that someone else may have the same question. And we always get a lot more out of it when everyone participates in that way. So moving along, we've got a lot that we're going to cover today. We'll start with talking about owning a business and whether it's right for you. We'll get into some of the options that you have for getting into business. We'll talk about legal aspects, ways to organize your business. And when I talk about organizing, I mean the legal constructs of a business. We'll talk quickly about some simple business planning. We'll talk about financials and funding, and we'll talk about marketing your business. Just a disclaimer to let you know, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not an accountant. If your questions require some technical support for your answer, I'll probably refer you to those professionals. But please don't, as I said, please don't hesitate to ask a question. The overarching intent of today's presentation is to give you a sense of what it takes to get into business, to start a business, and give you an idea of how to plan and get your thoughts organized around that accordingly. So without further ado, let me start with talking about some of the myths or realities that you may have heard about, you may have thought about as you've begun to consider starting a business of your own. So one of the first ones I often hear is that as an entrepreneur, you won't have to work so hard and you won't have to put in such long hours. Let me dissuade you of that myth right off the bat. You know, in my experience, owning a business is a life-affecting experience. If you haven't given it the thought at this point, you'll come to understand that it will take up much of your waking hours as well as much of your sleeping hours. My wife ran a business here in the Rochester, New York area for 30 years, and I can tell you that not only was she always thinking about it, but it was actually part of her identity. And so it really is life-affecting. So be prepared to make it a part of your day-to-day activity as you work through the business. My product and service is unique and there's no competition. Well, that may be true in the beginning. If you truly have something that is unique, you may find that there is no competition at the outset. That said, it won't be long before somebody finds a way to copy it or make it better or make it different. There's always going to be competition. Your job as a business owner is to monitor your competition, understand your competition, know your competition as well or better than they do, because you're going to have to stay one step ahead all the time. There is always going to be competition. So make it part of your day-to-day activity. You may have heard about organizations that shop each other's businesses. The Macy's and the Nordstroms. If you were in a department store, it wouldn't be unusual to see someone from the other business actually walking the floor and making notes. It's not unusual for that to happen. So in this day and age, you can Google competition. You can use the keywords that reflect your business and Google those keywords and find out who else is doing what you're doing. And you've got to do it on a persistent basis. If I own a business, I won't have to pay Social Security taxes. Well, good luck with that. No, you will have to pay a self-employment tax, and that consists of two parts. Part one is for Social Security, which is 12.4%, and the remaining 2.9% then is paid for Medicare. So yeah, there's no escaping Social Security taxes as a business owner. I can expense everything as a business owner. Not true. I always encourage my clients to meet with their accountants when it comes to what can and cannot be expensed. Certain things like rent, utilities, portions of your automobile, portions of your home can be expensed, but you really have to be careful and pay attention to those sorts of things. So yes, you can expense some things, but not everything. And then the last one to dispel: business owners get to do what they want to do. Not true at all. My family, my dad was in the burglar alarm business, and I can tell you that the challenges he had included things like, when do I get to take a vacation? Because if I'm not working, then we're not earning money. I'm not taking care of my customers. And when business was slow, the question came up, who do I pay first, my employees or myself? So while it seems like a nice construct to be able to be more free by owning your business, the reality is that you will have to make some hard decisions about what you do and what you don't do. So let me pause for a moment, just see if there's any questions out there, and then we'll move on to the next slide. All right, I assume we're all clear. So if you have an idea, will it sell? Will people buy it? And anyone can begin a business, but really the essence of it is to understand clearly who's going to buy it and why they're going to buy it. And we'll talk about this in some more detail as we go forward. But the questions that you want to ask yourself as regards people and your customers is, what is it that keeps them up at night? What problems are they trying to solve? What wants, what needs do they have that you can address? What challenges do they face on a daily basis? What is it that you're going to do specifically to address those needs, to fill those wants, to solve their problems? And are they willing to pay for what it is that you're offering? Will they buy it from you? Will they buy it from you and not someone else? So one of the ways I kind of look at it when I meet with new clients is, ask yourself the question, what is it that you do better, cheaper, or faster to help your clients or your customers do what they do better, cheaper, or faster? So even though you may have an idea that seems compelling, you've really got to find a way to articulate it that describes what need, what want, and what problems you may be solving, and why your approach is better than anybody else's. Getting into business requires a great deal of introspection, personal introspection, and I encourage all of my clients to become as self-aware as possible. As a business owner, as a business leader, you're doing two things. You're setting an example for your employees, the way they're going to engage with your customers, and you're setting a tone for your customers in the business. You're setting up how people will perceive you and your business, your customer service, your focus, your presentations. All of these things are part and parcel of how you engage the market. So when you begin to think about starting a business, you want to ask yourself all of these kinds of questions. I had a client come to me about a year ago who wanted to start a restaurant business, which was a great idea. So I said to her, wonderful, what is it that brings you to this business? What experience have you had in restaurants or hospitality? Well, I really haven't had any, she said. I said, all right, so what educational background do you have? And she said, well, I really don't have any. I didn't go to school for it. So I asked, so why is it that you think you can be successful when it comes to opening up a restaurant, which, as many of you know, is a highly competitive and hard to manage business? And she said, well, I like to feed people and I'm a good cook. And I said, look, the best thing you can do for yourself right now is put this idea on hold and go out and work in the industry. Go find a restaurant, find a hotel, find something in the hospitality area so that you can gain the experience that you're going to need. You're going to have to learn how to manage people. You're going to have to learn how to make decisions in stressful environments. You're going to need some degree of leadership skill. go out and work in the industry for 2 or 3 years, then give us a call when you've had that opportunity. And in the process, take some courses at any of the local community colleges that are available. So can you check all of these boxes? Bottom line, can you turn your passion and your values into something that will give you long-term success? Because at the end of the day, we're all going into business for one primary reason. That is, of course, unless we're not for profit, and that is to make some money and have a long-term career and a way to support our families going forward. So again, I'll pause and stop. Lisa, Robert, any questions or comments outstanding?
No, we're good.
Okay, thank you. All right, so moving along, what are some of the options available to you to start a business? So the first one is starting a business right from scratch. So what are some of the pros associated with doing that? Well, you don't have an existing image or equipment of an existing business. And when I talk about equipment, I'm referring to equipment that may be obsolete. So you can buy new, you can start fresh with both image and equipment if that's part of your business. You can choose your own name, you can choose your own location, you can choose your own logos, and you can begin to build your own relationships. Everything starting from scratch, it's fresh, and all of those attributes I mentioned to you on the previous slide, you can bring to bear. And because you're running your business, you can explore new markets and directions as time moves on. Right? So you can find ways to add to your product line. You can take a local business and make it national. All of this is up to you as the business owner. You're the one that's making the decisions. And on the other side of that coin, the cons, you're the one that's going to live with those decisions. You have no existing customer base to build on, so you have nothing that's proven yet. Whether your idea is brand new or been out there for a while, you still don't have a customer base to build on. And you're taking a risk than if you were buying an existing business, again, because there is no track record, no sales. And because you have no track record or sales, it will be harder to find financing. I don't know how many of you watch Shark Tank, but if you ever do, you'll find that one of the questions that's asked 99% of the time is, what is your track record? What sales have you gotten? And if it's a brand new business and there are little or no sales, the investors are kind of going to look askance at that and probably not make a deal. In fact, Shark Tank is one of the best opportunities for you to learn about what it's like to be a business owner, what it's like to be an entrepreneur. And if you can take your idea and answer their questions as they're asking them to those folks on television, then you're in great shape, because that's exactly how a bank or an investor would look at you if you were to start a business. And it's exactly the way you should look at your business as well. You should be asking yourself those hard questions. So that's the first one, starting a business right from scratch. The second option you have is to buy an existing business. So what are some of the benefits of that? Well, you gain an established customer base. You're really not starting from ground zero. So there may be a location, there may be a website, an e-commerce site, whatnot. There may be already existing supplier and partner relationships that you can take advantage of. The business, if it's been successful, is a known entity, has a proven formula, has name recognition, what we call brand equity. You can think of many of the businesses around town, like the Burger Kings, the McDonald's, and so on and so forth. That's what's called brand recognition. Those names are instantaneously familiar to people who hear them. You can, and you absolutely should, review a business's records before buying to make sure that it's profitable. I recommend clients that are looking to buy a business that they look back 2 or 3 years to look at all the financial statements, the P&L, the balance sheets, the cash flow statements. All of those things are things that you want to look back 2 or 3 years. The tax returns as well. And assuming all that works out and the numbers are good, because there's a business that has a track record, you may be able to find financing more readily. I'm recently working with a client who's looking to buy a business, and it's a successful business with a good amount of cash in the bank. He may need to borrow money to make a down payment where the owner finances the balance. And if he were to go to the bank who's been supporting that particular business, he may have a better chance of getting financing because the bank knows the business and knows the cash flow capabilities of the business and his ability to repay that loan. So buying an existing business is certainly an opportunity that you should consider. However, there may be problems that could haunt you. And so what I recommend when considering a business to buy is go out and interview the partners, interview the suppliers, interview the vendors, interview the customers, interview the employees. Uncover as much as you can. Do your due diligence and do your research and take your time, because once you're in it, in for a penny, in for the pound, as they say. And this kind of research will help you to ensure that the business you're buying has a solid reputation. If there's any question, you should raise that question to the current owner and see what the response is. Check out the business's inventory. If you're buying, for example, a retail clothing business, are those clothes in inventory still current in terms of trend? If you're buying a manufacturing facility, is the inventory still usable? Are the machine components, the parts, still viable? If you're buying something in the food service business, is the inventory of foods still usable? Have they extended and gone past their shelf life? Talk with employees and customers to see where their loyalties are. You may buy a business and find that the customers really don't want to do business, but with anyone who owned the business before. These are things you need to surface, because if there is any kind of concern, you're going to have to deal with it. And so you want to know as much as you can right up front. And the last point I'll make here is that there's no guarantee that what's been successful in the past will continue under your leadership. Again, this is why that introspection is so necessary. Those bullet points I brought up on a couple of slides earlier, you'll want to double check those and make sure that you bring to the party all the necessaries that will ensure your long-term success. The third one is buying a franchise. So I mentioned, the names, Burger Kings and McDonald's and so forth. Those are franchises. And you as the owner are what's referred to as the franchisee. And so you're part of a well-known system. There's marketing and sales that's brought to bear by the franchisor. They also provide training and guidance. You become part of a network to work with other franchisees. I've got a couple of clients out there that are part of massage and or student learning organizations. And both of those have multiple franchises in the Valley, but the franchisees get together once a month to talk about challenges, issues, marketing opportunities, and so forth. And because it's a franchise, there's a good probability that the franchisor has a relationship with a lender to help you get started. There are restrictions. When you consider a franchise operation, you'll want to read through what's called the FFRANC-DD, called the Franchise Disclosure Document. It's a very thick document, and it describes all of the obligations and responsibilities that both you and the franchisor will have. I encourage folks to have an attorney look that over, an accountant look that over. It will describe things like who you have to buy from, what kind of royalties you'll have to pay, and so on and so forth. Again, I would encourage you to interview other current franchisees to see what their relationship has been with the franchisor over time. In the Valley, there's an organization called FranNet. A gentleman named Kent Craven is the Arizona consultant. There's a link up there. FranNet is a great organization. It's nationwide, and it helps potential franchisees locate and then run and manage their franchise down the road. So I would encourage you, if you're thinking of a franchise, to look out into the FranNet organization. So again, I'll pause there for a moment. We've covered 3 different kinds of business opportunities: starting one, buying one, and engaging in a franchise. Questions, comments, thoughts? Robert, anything out there yet?
We got one question from David who says, isn't the singular biggest similarity between all businesses succeeding is to take care of all the little things that may be affecting your business, and the rest will work its way through? Well,
I think, David, you've kind of made my point up in the beginning. You're absolutely right that owning a business is all encompassing. And as the business manager, you are responsible for all of the aspects of the business. In fact, it's probably a great lead into my next chart. But I do want to give you a little bit more information, and that is that, concerning metrics for new businesses, 75% of new businesses are going to fail within 2 years. 90% will fail within 5 years, and 95% will fail within 10 years. So as you said, David, if you don't do all of those little things, you have a good probability of a shorter term success. And I wouldn't anticipate that things will work out, as you said in your comment, by themselves. It really takes diligence and it takes focus.
And Scott, to go with those numbers you just shared, I have to imagine that there's a significantly higher chance of success when you utilize organizations such as SCORE and the SBDCs, or the third-party private consultants that can help. When you have a small business and you're using, you have your personal trainer for your business basically as you're going through that time period.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. In fact, the most common reasons that businesses fail is for lack of funding, lack of a sufficient management team, a faulty infrastructure, or a poor business model. And the organizations that Robert was just referring to, we're all here to help you ensure that all of those potential reasons for failure are addressed and resolved. So you're exactly right. Thank you for that question. It was a good one. Anything else?
That's it.
All right. So as I said, David, great segue to the next chart here. So introspection is absolutely key. Self-awareness is key. So in terms of the things you need to do as a business owner, do you have these skills? And I won't go through them all individually. You can read them as well. My point here is that if you're finding yourself lacking in any of these areas, you're going to need to acquire the skills. Every business has all of these skills to some degree. So if you're lacking in it, you need to acquire them. You can either buy them on a contract basis, or you can hire them in as employees. So pay attention to the things that you do. I have clients that are experts in IT, information technology, but when it comes to marketing, haven't a clue. Even more, I have clients who are excellent at retail sales and marketing, but haven't a clue about bookkeeping. And bookkeeping is essential. We'll talk about that in a little bit as well. In fact, there's a whole nother webinar coming up that talks about knowing your numbers. Absolutely critical. So do some introspection and check off to see where your strengths and your needs are going to be as you get into the business. And I want to leave you with another thought here. And that is that don't forget the amount of time that you're going to need to accomplish these tasks. Even if you hire these out, you're still the business owner and you've still got to oversee the activities. So if you hire a bookkeeper, you still got to know that that bookkeeper is accounting for things properly. And you've got to know that your customer service representatives are working with your clients carefully and looking at your customers' needs. There is a balance that you're going to have to make between what we call working in your business, which is doing the things that your business does, and working on your business, which are these kinds of things. So it's a balance that you're going to have to strike. I encourage you to pay attention to all of these things and determine where your strengths are and where you need to find some support. We talk about partners in a different light. So there are 4 and probably 5 people you absolutely need to have in your life as a business owner. So the first is your banker. And if you've been involved in business, in particular in these recent times with respect to the PPP loans, my clients who have been successful in receiving PPP loans were those that had good, solid relationships with their bankers. So you'll want to work with your banker, open up all of your business checking accounts, your lines of credits. I also encourage my clients, don't just go to the ATM. Don't just drop off your deposits through the drive-up. Go into the bank periodically, shake hands with the tellers, meet the loan officers, Meet the administrators. Make sure that you build a one-to-one relationship with the bank so that when you have a need, they know you, they understand you, they understand your business more importantly, and they're there to help out where you can. I also suggest that you work most closely with the smaller regional banks. They have a bit more of an affinity for small business than perhaps some of the larger national banks. The next most important person in your life is going to be your accountant. So as a business owner, you're going to set up your accounting and your bookkeeping. You'll want to work with your accountant and your bookkeeper to set up what's called the chart of accounts so that you can bucket all of your expenses and your revenues properly so that taxes can be paid properly. So I encourage people to include an accountant as part of their annual expense budget. Insurance agents, insurance brokers, you're absolutely going to need some insurance coverage both for your business as well as for yourself. It's going to vary based upon the nature of your business. You know, a consultant is going to need different insurance coverages than a construction contractor. But you want to make sure that you are adequately protected so that in the event there is some calamity, some issue, that you do have some coverage to help you get through the scenario, whatever it might be. And then lastly, you'll need a lawyer. There are many online resources for legal documents, for example. Certainly you can look at those. I always encourage my clients to try to work with a lawyer in real time, face to face. Depending upon the nature of your business, you may need contracts to be written, terms of use to be written, statements of work to be written. All of these things have specifics that would apply to your particular business that may be overgeneralized in those documents that you find online. So if you refer to an acronym BAIL, these four people will do their job and keep you out of JAIL. So please make sure that you build these relationships accordingly. I always encourage my clients at our first meeting to go out and start interviewing. And SCORE does have a list of professional resource partners in each of these areas that are familiar and comfortable with working with small businesses. And least but not last is your SCORE business mentor. We are here to help you along the lines and help you identify some potential partners in each of these areas. Robert, let me pause for a moment, see if there's a question, comment.
We don't have any questions, but I want to mention the banker thing real quick and those relationships. We saw when the PPP program first started that those that had relationships with their bankers got the loans quicker. So that business banking relationship is very important. Even if you don't need loans, just having that relationship is huge.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I saw the same as I mentioned. Even, you know, organizations like Square, the new fintechs as well, have been successful in my experience with helping clients get some of those PPP loans as well. So in this day and age, there are more options than just the bricks and mortar bank. So explore, explore, explore. Okay, let's talk about legal things. When we talk about legal things, the easiest way, for example, to organize or start your business is to go out and get a DBA. DBA stands for doing business as, and the purpose of it is to protect the business name from use by others in the county. And we'll talk about names and trademarks in a few minutes. In Arizona, the DBA is issued by the AZ Secretary of State. And Robert, Lisa, keep me honest, I think it costs $10 in Arizona to set up a DBA.
I can't remember exactly offhand, but it's something like that. 10,
yeah. So relatively inexpensive, and it does give you that starting point so that you can start promoting and marketing your business. Arizona also has something called transaction privilege tax. And this is a tax on a vendor for the privilege of doing business in the state. It's issued by the Arizona Department of Revenue, and it's free. It's also similar to a sales tax. The AZ DOR will collect the sales tax and distribute it down to the municipalities accordingly. So want to pay attention to that. At the federal level, you'll want what's called an employer identification number. This is basically the equivalent of a social security number that reflects your business's financial entity. And it's required to open a business banking account, licenses and file taxes and so forth, issued by the IRS, and it is free. Again, I always encourage you to talk with your accountants to determine what of these are needed and how you need to apply and use them, in your particular business. Comment? Go ahead.
Cheryl, who's my senior program manager for our checklist program, she just mentioned in the chat that last she heard it was $10 for 5 years for the trade name with the Secretary of State.
Okay, good, thank you. Other comments, questions on this? There's lots more to consider, and as you work with your mentors, you'll find that there are other areas that you need to address, but this is, at the macro level, this is a good place to start. Okay, moving on. I mentioned the term organizing your business. And when we talk about organizing, we really mean what legal structure is your business going to take. So these are the three more common ones for small businesses. There are certainly others, and there are nonprofit organizational structures as well, but we're strictly speaking here about the commercial aspect of organizing your business. So a sole proprietorship or a partnership, one or more people owns or operates the business. Earnings are taxed just once, but you as the owner are personally responsible for everything that happens in the business. So if there were an injury, you could be personally liable for the outcome of that injury. So again, you're taxed on it and you're liable. A limited liability company is a form of separating your business from your personal assets. The business owner is taxed on both earnings and losses, but if there were an issue, a calamity, if you will, it would be the business that would be liable, and the business owner would be protected from potential loss of assets and so on. If there are multiple members of the limited liability company, you would have a written membership agreement that articulates, layers of management, presidents, vice presidents, general managers, and so forth. So a limited liability company is another approach. It's a less expensive way than going to an S Corp or a C Corp. I won't talk about the C Corp. And in Arizona, lucky you, it's relatively inexpensive. In New York, it's a pain in the you-know-what, and very expensive. So congratulate Arizona on being business friendly. The other one I wanted to mention here is the S Corp. This again limits the liability of the business owner. Earnings and losses again are personally taxed, but there can be some regulations that can be costly and time consuming. And there may be some restrictions as to how you can raise capital. So again, I always encourage you to review your legal structure with your attorney. I know that there are sources out on the internet for doing these kinds of organizational structures. I personally believe that they are overly generalized. If you want to make sure you get it done right, reach out and work with your attorney and your accountant. Comments, questions?
So Scott, we have a really good question. It's from Bella. It is, if you have an LLC registered with the Arizona Corporation Commission, do you need a DBA as well?
I think that you would have had a DBA in advance of doing that, because you would have had to give a name to the business. Robert, I don't know, do you have a comment on that?
Yeah, so when you register your LLC with the Arizona Corporation Commission, you are also registering the name. So if that's the name that you're doing business under, when you registered with the Corporation Commission, you do not need to do a DBA in addition to that. Now, if you're going to also operate under a different name, like a sub name, then you may need to do a DBA for that sub name. But if your general business is based and operating as your LLC name, then you don't have to do any extra paperwork.
Okay, good. Thank you. Appreciate that insight. Anything else?
That's it for now.
Okay, thank you. All right, I mentioned earlier, and we just talked about your DBA or your LLC name registration. So 3 steps you want to take because you absolutely want to ensure that you are safe to use the name that you choose. So you want to search the availability of the name to places to go, the US Patent and Trademark Office. There's a link here. You can do a trademark search. And then the Arizona Secretary of State website also has a place to do your trademark search. If you're going to have a web presence, an online presence, you'll want to make sure that your domain name is available. And so here's a link to an organization called Dotster that you can use. There are many others. If you're working with a hosting company like GoDaddy, they can also help you with doing domain name searches. You want to make sure that that domain name is available to you before you start using it. And then registering trademarks and trade names. Again, the US Patent and Trademark Office, the Arizona Secretary of State. I recently came across a document on the Arizona Secretary of State website, the BSD Trade Name Handbook, which is out there. It's a large document, but it's got pretty much everything from soup to nuts that will help you to be confident that the name you're choosing, the domains you're choosing are usable. I will give you one example of a situation that I heard of while I was out in Arizona earlier this year, and that is there's an organization called Panda Libre, a small business, I think out in Gilbert. They are an Asian Mexican fusion restaurant, and they're currently being sued by Panda Express. I don't know if you're familiar with Panda Express, but they're nationwide. They typically have an outlet in almost every food court and every airport around the country. They're claiming confusion of name and logo. And so if Panda Libre loses that challenge, it's likely they're going to have to rebrand and rename their business, which is going to be extremely costly. So again, my point here, like I made earlier, is get it right up front so that you are protected. The other point I want to make very briefly is if you have an invention or some secret sauce that is unique to your business, you want to explore patents, intellectual property patents, copyrights, and so forth as well. And again, SCORE has some workshops, and we do have some mentors who are expert in this area, can help you work with making sure that your names are appropriately searched and protected. Any comments there?
No, we're going to move on to the next slide.
Okay. All right. I'm not going to go over each and every one of these points other than to say that when it comes to employees, the hiring, the training, the retaining of employees, there is a lot to consider. Remember that your employees are the face to your customers. You know, I used to work in a bank many years ago. And, you know, the folks that were on the front lines, the tellers, were the ones that were paid the least. And those folks were the ones that were talking with and engaging with customers every day. I always felt that those folks should be adequately recognized and compensated for being that front line to the employees. That said, these are a variety of the different kinds of tasks that you need to pay attention to if you're having employees as part of your business. So again, the PDF of the document will be posted. You can refer to this as a checklist down the road as may be needed. So again, you can hire these capabilities out, or you can become expert in them. Like I said, it's a balance of your time and energy. That said, I'm expecting that most of you have heard in the news the state of California versus Uber and Lyft as regards the classification of their employees, their drivers. So classifying your employees as either contractors or direct hires is critical to determining where your tax payments, your Social Security benefits, and any other benefits that you may want to consider for your employee base. This is a copy of an IRS document. You can find this online, which describes how to differentiate between the two and some of the implications of each. Any comments, questions on that?
We have a quick question, Scott, that goes back to the previous slide, and it just says, how long is the application process for a patent?
I'm sorry, the application process for what? For a patent? You know, I haven't experienced it myself, but I can tell you that it probably takes months rather than weeks because it has to be reviewed and tested by the patent attorneys and the patent analysts in the government. I can find out for you what a typical patent search may take, but trust me, it's weeks and or months, if not longer.
All right, thank you.
Yep. All right, let's move along. I think the next chart is insurance. Yes. So I talked about this briefly. Again, I'm not going to hit each and every one of these. It's a good checklist to consider. I think the point here that you want to take away, the 2 points that you want to take away are, one, that you want to have coverage separate for you and your family and your personal assets, as well as coverage that's specific to your business. And that's the second point. The insurance coverage that you acquire should reflect what's needed for your business. When you meet with an insurance agent, they should have familiarity with small businesses. They should ask you leading questions about what your business does to uncover the kinds of liabilities that you may incur. There are also state required insurances that you must cover, things like workers' compensation perhaps, or disability, or health and life, and so on. So, you know, beyond what's mandated by the states or the municipalities, there are the other umbrella type coverages that you would need. Questions or comments?
Nope.
Okay. I'll talk briefly about the business model canvas. I think one of your forthcoming webinars is going to dive into this. This is one of my favorite tools to work with. And why I love this is because, number one, it's a visual representation of how your business is going to operate on a day-to-day basis. But if you do it right and you focus on creating value, delivering value, and capturing value, if you focus on the value propositions, that is, what do you do to address the needs and the wants and the problems of your customers? And when I talk about customers, it's specifically, who are you going to help? Who are you doing what it is that you do for? And so, for example, if I'm opening up a yogurt shop, my customer base may be within a 2-mile radius. And what am I doing for those folks? Well, their want is to have a healthy dessert of some kind. You know, there may be an ice cream store around the corner, or a cupcake store around the corner. But for those who want a healthier option, a yogurt store. So I need to understand as much as I can about what those problems, needs, and wants are, and who I'm solving those problems and needs and wants for. Once you understand those two components, which is why I put the red asterisks there, it will inform everything else that you do in your business model. The business model canvas is not a substitute for a formal business plan. You'll make a determination if you need a formal business plan if you decide that you're going to the bank or some other investor who really wants 30, 40 pages of information and understanding of what it is that that your business is going to do and how you're going to operate. This business model canvas is for you to understand specifically how you're going to create the value, what you're going to do, and who you're going to work with to deliver that value. And then in terms of capturing value, again, we're talking about a profit-oriented business here, what your cost structure will be and how much you're going to make. It's a great tool. I recommend every one of my clients that's starting a business work on doing this. I also look at it as a living document so that you revisit it every 6 months to a year, because everything changes. Economics changes, technology changes, competition changes, the social dimensions of life change. All of these things change, and so your value propositions may change, your customer segments, your target customers may change. All of these things are open to modification and adjustment to ensure that your business has a long and successful life. I often have clients that will take this model and put it on a 2-foot by 3-foot board, draw in the lines, and then use Post-it notes for each of the boxes so that they can, in real time, make changes and update their information and keep it current. So it's a great tool. I highly encourage you to take the workshop on the business model canvas. Comments?
Yeah, Scott, with the business model canvas, we've had a previous session as well, and I can't remember which session it was, but it is in the archive. And then
Okay.
August 24th, Tuesday, August 25th. Tuesday, August 25th will be part 2 of this SCORE series, which will cover the business model canvas.
Good, good. Yeah, highly recommended. If you can work your way through this, you're going to reduce that probability of failure in the first 2 years, just like you were saying earlier. All right, let's talk a little bit about numbers. I know we're getting down up to the top of the hour here. I'm not going to go into too much detail. In that workbook, that booklet, you're going to see a table like this to help you begin to determine what your startup costs will be. So you're going to want to spend a lot of time working through your startup cost analysis. What's it going to take to improve, if you're renting a space, what's it going to take to build it out? What's it going to cost to create a website? Please make sure that you include startup marketing costs. You can't assume that the day you open your business or the day you turn up your website that people are going to start buying your product. You need to have a marketing plan that kicks off 6 months before you plan to open the door. That said, be sure you have enough working capital to cover the needs not only of your business, but your ability to pay your own personal bills. So you want to have enough working capital in the bank so that, or you want to have a good relationship with your banker for a line of credit so that you can keep the lights on when you're not generating enough sales. Go through all of this, do this analysis, and then at the end of the day, add 30% because you don't know what you don't know, and you're going to find a bunch of those are going to pop up along the way. That's startup costs. In addition to figuring startup costs, you're going to want to figure out what your income goals are and what your potential for expenses is going to be as you operate the business. So startup costs and now operational costs. So if we look at this particular benchmark, and you can go to the libraries and you can find a variety of databases to search out benchmarks, which I encourage you to do. This is for a personal and laundry service, a sole proprietorship dated back 2017. It's all of these expenses here on this profit and loss statement are expressed as a percentage of sales. So for this particular business, 30%, 33% of sales results in a net profit. So what do we do with that? Well, we've got to begin to project what our business has to sell in order to succeed. So if we expect an income, a net profit of $50,000, we apply that using the net profit percentage there of 33%, and we figure out that we've got to have sales of about $150,000. So now we know what our top line sales has to be. That's 100%. If I were to then begin to plan my advertising budget here, so if you look about 2/3 of the way down the chart, you'll see that advertising sales is 1.25%. Advertising expenses is 1.25% of sales. You're going to need about $1,875 in your annual budget. So again, this is just one database, one benchmark. I encourage you to reach out to the experts in the libraries and do the research that applies specific to your business. Funding. Again, I'm not going to go through all the detail here, but these are some of the different ways that you can find funding. The easiest is to fund yourself but you have to assess the risk and how much you're personally willing to lose if you do fail. Same applies to your friends and family. It may be a little easier, but can they afford it? And can you deal with the fallout, again, in the event that there is a failure? If you wanted to reach out to a bank, they're going to need and want a full business plan. You can get some assistance with guarantees from the Small Business Administration. Again, SCORE and the SBA can provide you with banks that work with SCORE, with the SBA. And there are a number of different programs they have dependent upon what your needs are. Most of you will not likely be going for venture capital. It's expensive, it's challenging. Think about the folks on Shark Tank, because that's exactly what they're doing. They're asking for venture capital. You will have to give up probably a portion of your business in terms of equity. And are you ready to do that? And then more currently within the last few years is what's called crowdfunding, Kickstarter programs and so forth. There are some rules and regulations that you have to pay attention to, but nonetheless, it is a way in which you can find sources of capital out there that may be different from what you and your friends and family would consider. I have a client that's starting up a video business, and so he's offering in a Kickstarter campaign a discount on those who fund his program initially. So lots of things to consider here and just different options for getting some capital. The last part of our conversation this morning is going to be about marketing your business. Very simply, what is marketing? Well, it's changing behavior by changing beliefs. And again, I go back to that business model canvas. What are the value propositions and who are the customers, right? So whose behavior are you trying to change? And marketing brings to bear those tasks and activities that will change their behavior, that will bring to the conversation of with those customers what it is that you offer and how you're going to do it. And so we do that by creating what we call a marketing plan. I often tell my clients to lay out a calendar with the months of the year across the top and all of the different marketing activities that are going to happen down the left column. And then in each of the cells underneath the month and across from the activity, you put a dollar amount. And so now you know when you're going to be doing it, what you're going to be doing, and how much it's going to cost, and you can come up with a marketing budget. And so that's an approach I typically use with my customers. Bottom line, there's only two ways to increase your sales, generate sales, is by getting more customers or getting your customers to spend more, either more per transaction or more transactions. That's really the bottom line on marketing. Again, I think you're going to have a webinar coming up that's in more detail. This particular chart gives you some idea of what an online business might do in terms of some of its actions. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail here as well, but again, it's a checklist. The points I want to have you take away from this is that you want to measure the cost per action. So for example, about midway in the chart there, it says Facebook ad click. So if 100 people see your Facebook ad and 10 of them click, that could cost you up to $50. It's not generating a sale though, right? So we want to look at the conversion type. What it is generating a lead. So those 10 people may go to, if there's a 10% conversion rate to the lead, those 10 people may actually go to your website. Now, of those 10 people, only 3 of them may actually buy something. That's a 30% conversion rate to purchase. So you need to understand essentially what your return is going to be on your investment by cost per transaction, by the kind of conversion, and by the kind of conversion rate. This will likely be discussed more in the marketing webinar that's down the road for you. All right, so summarizing, and then we'll open the door for some questions. Right from the start, do some serious soul searching, some introspection. Look inside yourself in terms of your personal attributes, your skill sets, and what it is that you're going to have to hire or bring into the business that you don't have yourself. Look at all the options. We talked about 3 different options. Do your due diligence in every single case to see what's right for you. get a good team of helpers, right? So your lawyer, your CPA, your agent, your bankers, your SCORE mentors, any of the other business mentors that that Robert mentioned earlier. You know, I tell my clients, you know, I ask them, how do you eat an elephant? Well, the answer is one bite at a time, but with some help. So always, you know, build the relationships that you're going to need. And if you go back to that business model canvas, there's a box for resources, there's a box for partners. And you want to begin to list those people out in your business model canvas. I'm guessing most of you have heard this, but failing to plan is simply planning to fail. You know, David's question or comment early on was spot on. The only thing I would say there is, you know, when you do take an action, follow it up. Don't anticipate that things are going to resolve by themselves. Stuff is going to happen, whether you like it or not. And be thorough. There is a webinar coming up on financials. Pay attention to it. Be thorough, be conservative. At the end of the day, do your research, do your analysis, get the help that you need. You know, I tell my clients, just in summary, when they come to me with a business idea, that there's three options, there's three paths that the SCORE mentoring process can help them take to make a decision. One is, the first path is that they're absolutely going to realize their dream and that they will have a long and successful business career. The second is that after they've done all the introspection and the research and the analysis, they determine that it's really best to keep their day job and do this as a hobby. And then the last outcome, as you might guess, is that, again, after all of the research, the analysis, the introspection, they determine that this is really not for them, and they will have saved themselves time and money and resources. So the bottom line is follow through, do your research and your analysis, get the help you need. And with that, I'm going to say thank you all for your time this morning. Sign up for your mentoring, sign up for your workshop, do your research, and if there's a survey coming your way for today's webinar, please take the time to complete it. Robert, over to you.
All right, thank you, Scott. We appreciate you taking the time today. Attendees, sorry, went a few minutes over, but the information is great from Scott. Again, this is part one of a three-part series. Part two will be Tuesday, August 25th, and part three will be Tuesday, September 1st in this session. So again, we will have a regular Tuesday, Friday cadence for the boot camp sessions with some occasional Monday PPP special sessions we've added in. Our next session will be this Friday, 9 a.m. It'll be a marketing session, again, hosted by Yavapai College, SBDC. So we're excited about that. Once again, Scott, thank you for kicking us off with this ABCs on starting the business. And we appreciate everybody's time. If you have any questions, you can reach out to us directly through the ACA. And until then, we will see you on Friday. Thank you.